everyone, this is Patrice. Welcome to my channel. Please click and subscribe. So today's hot topic is the interview that Oprah did with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. And I hope that it will shine some light, I guess, from a commoner's view. I don't know any royal family. I've never been to London, but I can tell you that I'm always loved the royal family as far as understanding them. I've read a lot about them. I've seen so many documentaries and everything that you can think of with the royal family. So I think I'm very familiar with them. My older sister, is also like a big expert in the royals, not just in England, but also like in France. So this is my take and what I saw from the video and from the interview. So first of all, I just want to say that talking about this whole interview to me was mostly about understanding what was said and why it was said. So there's two things that I found a little bit, I guess I would say, not negative, but that I would say there was something that they were remiss about. And the first one had to do when they talked about the title of their son. So I know for a fact that this was nothing personal with the actual title of their son, whether he was born or she was pregnant with him. This really had to do, and this is something that Harry should have known, it had to do with something that King George V back in 1917 had instituted into law, that the only ones that would have an HRH title, which is his or her Royal Highness title, would be anybody who's in direct succession to the line of the throne. And so that would have included Prince Harry. So when Prince Harry was born, you have to remember that Prince Charles, who is Prince Harry's father, is the crown prince. So he's the one who is the heir to the throne. So when the queen dies, Prince Charles will become King Charles. And because he is the crown prince, his two children, or any children that he would have had the HRH title, which would have been princess or prince. And in this case, it's Prince William, who's the firstborn, and then Prince Harry, which is the secondborn. And prior to Prince William getting married, that was the succession line, which was Prince Charles, and then Prince William, and then Prince Harry. When Prince William got married and had children, now Prince William's children become part of that succession before Prince Harry. So they take precedence before Prince Harry. So, and in that order, in the order of birth. And so those children of Prince William would be the only ones who would get his or her Royal Highness titles as princes. So anyway, so that's something that I'm not sure why that was not explained to them, or why Harry was not aware of that, or why they were remiss, I guess, in getting told that information in a way where they could have understood that. The other part that was a little bit sort of hard to understand was the depth of change to her life in that she was going to take in marrying him. So that part does baffle me. She did make some mention to it when she said, when I went to go meet the Queen Mother, not the Queen Mother, but the Queen, which was his grandma, he said, I thought we were going to go meet his grandma. And he said to me, do you know how to curtsy? And I said, why? She's your grandma. And he said, she's the queen. And I think the moment he said that, she makes it sound like she became aware, but clearly she didn't, because if she really did understand the enormity of that, she would have understood, no, you don't understand. This is an institution that has been here for years and generations and hundreds of years, and this is not something that you're just going to oh yeah, they're the royal family, and I'm just gonna go in there, whatever. No, I think she should have definitely been told by either her mother, her friends. It's shocking to me that nobody told her, because I would have told her if my daughter would have come home and said, "Hey, mom, I fallen in love with the prince, and I'm gonna get married with him." That's the first thing I would have said. I would have said, "Oh my God, it's not that simple. Like, your life is going to change 100%. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to have all these engagements and go and wave at people and smile at the cameras. That's just going to be such a small, minute part of your life. I go, the other part is going to be living in this bubble where everybody is either going to love you or hate you for things that you have no control of. How you look, what you're wearing, what mood you're in, what color's your hair, how did you style your hair, what clothes are you wearing, yada yada. Every little thing is going to be dissected, and the media is going to be a terror, because they're either going to love you or they're going to hate you, and then they're going to write based from that point. They're going to write to either make you demonize you and make everybody else, because people are so impressionable, right? So it's really easy to just demonize somebody in the media, and everybody's like, oh yeah, we hate her, even though you've never met this person. I now hate her because, yeah, the media said that she was really selfish and this and that, and yeah, you can tell she is selfish. And you're like, you don't even know this person, but yeah, okay. So, and I don't know, this is just another problem with the world, right? That everybody is so impressionable, and the media is like the worst, the worst. And I'm not talking just with the royal family, I'm talking with everything. Really, the media is the one that is to blame for all of the subconscious feelings and divisiveness that is right now happening around the world. It's really the media. And if we all stopped and paid attention to how they write stuff, we would understand things better. But anyway, I digress. So that part I was a little shocked about, because I think she should have really understood the enormity of how her life was going to change. There are norms that are set in place that have been established there for hundreds of years. And yes, you will have to walk a certain way. People will have to walk in front of her, this family, and then this family, and then these kids, and then she goes next. And there's a hierarchy that she's going to respect, and there's certain norms that you have to do, because that's been going on for many, 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 many years. And so somebody should have given her that heads up. And as far as the hatred from the people, I mean, I'm surprised that people are thinking that, I talked to a friend recently, and she said, oh my God, oh, of course she's this and that, I don't like her because, I mean, they've never been in this situation. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? What do you mean the royals have never been in this situation? This is how little people know. So I don't know if people even remember that back in 1936, folks, okay, the king, an actual king, he wasn't a prince, he was an actual king, King Edward VIII, abdicated his throne. He abdicated his throne because he fell in love with an American woman who was a divorcee, another bad, but she was an American, and the king refused to not marry her and to not be with her, and so he had to abdicate his throne. And this is how Queen Elizabeth became queen, because her father then became king, who he was a brother of King Edward, and then he became king, and then he died very young, and then Queen Elizabeth became queen at a very young age, and so. But he abdicated because the people absolutely despised Wallace Simpson. So Wallace Simpson was an American who he fell in love with, and they were like, absolutely no. And there's video footage of it all over YouTube. I welcome you, any of you, to go and see it, of how that happened. Because if you're a royal, you're supposed to marry this way. You're supposed to marry the right person. And that's just something that is understood. And it wasn't just King Edward that abdicated his throne back in 1936, that, okay, it happened and that was it. Prince Charles also got to know his uncle, and he related to him in a lot of ways, because you also have to remember that Prince Charles also went through the same thing. He fell in love with Camilla Parker, and it was like, she's not good enough to be the future queen of this country. So, no, absolutely no. And so she went on to get married, and he went on to get married with Diana, and it was just a mess. This is how messed up the whole institution was. This is how their decisions to say, this is what we're going to dictate to these royals, and they have to marry right, they have to, act accordingly. And if they don't, then, they're not going to be allowed to be part of the royal family. And so it's really important to remember that this is not like the first time this has ever happened, and look at how many lives were hurt in this whole time. you know the king, Edward, he abdicated his throne, and yes, he did marry Wallis Simpson, and he lived with her until the day that he died. They were married till the day he died. And then there was Prince Charles, who went on to marry Diane, and then they got divorced, and then Diana died, and the children grew up without their mother. It was really sad, and it was very painful, because Diana always knew that he loved Camilla. And we're now sort of full circle with him, with Prince Charles, because now Prince Charles, of course, is with Camilla. And eventually, he was able to marry her. But at least he had already done what was right, which is have two heirs to the throne. And now with William being married, now there's four more heirs to the throne, right? So they've secured the monarchy in that sense. So that's something that, to me, people need to understand that this is not the first time that this has happened. And this is not the first time that people have become absolutely enraged when it comes to the monarchy. So in 1936, when King Edward abdicated his throne, you would have thought that we would have evolved, and I think there has been some involvement. There's been baby steps, because we see it with Camilla now being with Prince Charles. But you could tell that it took so many years, and I'm sure it took a toll on Prince Charles to get to that place where he can finally say, I'm with the woman that I love. So anyway, so what I'm trying to say here is that with those two things, those are the two things that I felt were things that Camilla and I'm sorry, that Prince Harry and Meghan should have been aware of, is the title concerning their son, as well as the enormity of what it meant to be married into the royal family. Everything else that I saw in that whole interview was more of an experience and her own truth. And so that to me was one of the reasons why I was so shocked at how so many people were saying, she's a liar, I hate her. And I was like, why? That is what she experienced. That's what she was feeling. What's there to lie about? I think the only time when there was a he said, she said, and maybe was probably when they talked about the dresses and how Meghan made Kate cry. And of course, again, the media was behind this, but this was months after the wedding. Months after the wedding, they put this out and they said, oh, Meghan Markle made, Kate cry, and everyone's like, oh yeah, she looks like it. Yeah, she looks like she would. Poor Kate, she looks so wonderful and nice. And I love Kate, and I think she's very beautiful and very elegant. But I don't know much about Meghan to hate her or like her. I don't, so I can't say yay or nay. But what I can say is I could see how they would put that spin out there, and how she felt betrayed and not protected, because she said there was a lot of people who were involved, who were there, and they could have said, they didn't have to say that Kate made her cry, but they could have at least said, that's not true. The royal family denies that this ever happened. That's it. This did not happen. But by allowing these things to spew out, people are all like forming their opinions because people are so impressionable, and that's how people make their minds about anything is, oh yeah, she's very selfish and she's needy and this and that. And they gave 2 examples of that. The first example was with the avocados. They talked about how when Kate was eating avocados, oh, she's eating healthy, yada yada. When Meghan's eating avocados, she's destroying the environment, right? And another one was when Kate was pregnant and she's holding her stomach, her baby bump. It's like, oh, she's already showing such affection to her unborn baby. You could tell she's going to be a wonderful mother, and the words that are being used, is that where everyone's like, oh yeah, yeah. And then they show Meghan Markle also touching her baby bump, and it's like, oh my God, she's always touching her tummy. Look at her, she's just needy, she's so extra, she just wants attention. And people are like, oh yeah, 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 you could tell she wants attention. Oh, I hate her, I hate her. And to me, it's like, what? How can people be so impressionable that you just listen to this media spins and you make opinions about people that you don't even know from Sam? I mean, you literally don't know these people, and yet you read a tabloid and you say, oh yeah, I knew it, I could tell she's terrible. 2 things, both touching baby bump, but the writing is so very differently. And so the media puts that out there, and they put that nasty spin to it, and they put those negative words, and words are very powerful. Words are very powerful, and when you use words that are so negative and so demeaning, people are going to listen to that, and they're going to say, oh yeah, yeah. And we see this all the time, and it's not just the royal family. We see this everywhere. We see this with the Kardashians. I hear it all the time. People will be like, oh, so and so's going through a heartache, they're going through a breakup, and people are like, who cares? Who cares about that Kardashians? There's people starving in the world. That's the one thing I always hear. That's the one thing I always hear, right? If somebody says, oh, well, they're going through this pain, somebody got robbed at gunpoint. Who cares about that? They're rich and famous. I don't care about this celebrity. They're rich and famous. Who cares? There's people starving in the world. And you're like, I don't care how rich you are. You can be a billionaire, or you can be a person that's hungry, living in a third world country. It doesn't matter. You still are a human being, and you still have emotions, and you still have feelings, and you're entitled to your truth and to your experience. And it has nothing to do with how much fame you have or how much fortune you have. It has to do with you're a human being. And so when I saw this, it's like they're just talking about, this is why we did what we did. This is why we reacted the way we reacted, because we wanted to protect ourselves. If it was toxic, it was not good for my mental health. And so I did what I did. And in trying to explain it, they still get crucified. So that to me is unacceptable. To me, it's really sad. It really talks about the state of how the world is today, where we're just much more disrespectful, very inconsiderate. And I hope that we all get back to being kinder and more empathetic and more respectful. And when I saw this whole interview, to me, it's like, it's not a case about who's right and who's wrong. To me, it was more a case of, this is their truth, this is their experience, this is why they do what they do. Are they perfect? 100% not. They're human beings, but they're trying to do the best for themselves, and just like everyone is trying to do the best for themselves, to live the best life that we all can. So I guess moving forward, hopefully we can all probably think that way. Just be aware of that. Be aware of when we read something, why are we thinking what we're thinking? Are we being influenced by this clickbait titles that the media has? And if so, maybe we can start becoming more proactive and just being more considerate of one another. And with that, I guess I'll leave you with my favorite quote. And this quote comes from the movie Wonder. And it says, if you have a choice to be right or kind, Choose kind. With that, I'll leave you all. Have a good day. Bye bye.